this episode of A Salt and Buttery, we're actually going to do a two-part recipe. The first part is for a Chinese version of oven barbecued pork, and that is the primary ingredient for pork-filled buns. The first part is easier, and the meat comes out really tasty and can be used for anything you want to. The recipe itself actually makes more than enough for the pork-filled buns, and then to be able to use in like a fried rice or a pork and chicken chow mein or anything like that, okay? It is really good. It's pretty tasty and pretty simple. So here's what we're going to do. First, we have already washed our hands and tied our hair back, because having excess hair show up in your dinner is never a pleasant experience, okay? And I have enough. I definitely need to tie it back because it's not a good thing. Next thing we're going to need is we're actually going to use a Ziploc bag, okay? This makes life so much easier. What I like to use for this is I like to use a gallon size Ziploc. Brand of your choice, okay? It doesn't matter. I have found that the bags that have the actual zipper on them to help you close them do not seal as well. So we end up getting more leakage and less of the flavor, a bigger mess, okay? In all honesty, a bigger mess. So I've already cut up the pork, and this recipe calls for 2 pounds. It's good for up to 2 pounds. You can make less, however much you want to make, okay? And there is, like with many other things, so many options for what you do, for how you make this. You can make this sweeter, you can make it spicier, but this is the base recipe that I like to use, okay? So we have here our pork. I already put it in the bag, okay? We have honey. Now, honey, as we know, is really sticky. Will stick to everything, okay? But what I did to minimize so I don't lose as much honey when I'm putting it in over the meat is I actually take a little bit of oil and put that into whatever I'm measuring the honey into, or the bowl that's holding it, and this really cuts down on the stickiness, the mess, makes life a lot easier, okay? Now we're adding some soy sauce. Now we're adding some sherry. Now, I've said before and I will say it again, if you have to, for some reason, not use something with alcohol in it, then for this, you can actually get away with using a little bit of chicken broth instead of the sherry, okay? I know it seems counterintuitive since we're working with pork here, but the chicken does work with this, okay? I know, I've tried it. I would recommend, if you can, staying away from the cooking sherry, because that has just so much more salt in it and less good flavor, okay? Now we have some green onion. And it's wanting to stick to the bowl. I swear I did not put any honey in this bowl, okay? That's just the green onion decided it was going to stick around, okay? And some 5-spice powder. Now what we do is, and this is one of the wonderful things about using a Ziploc type bag for this, is you can then squeeze out the extra air, okay? And you mix it really good. You want to get all those spices and all that flavor through all the pieces of meat. Now, part of the reason I made the pieces of pork so small is I want the flavor to get through all of the meat, okay? I've noticed a tendency with large pieces of meat, trying to marinate, trying to get the flavor into them, it tends to get into the outside and not into the middle. And with this, we want this flavor into the middle of it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the refrigerator, and it's going to sit for at least 2 hours, okay? If you can let it sit overnight, even better, okay? But unfortunately, I'm not always the best on planning this stuff, so, and I need it for dinner tonight. Anyway, we're going to be making the pork-filled buns with this, but this recipe is a standalone, okay? You can modify this. You can make it spicier if you want to, with addition of a little bit of white pepper or some cayenne, okay? You can add some actual diced up chilies into this if you want to make it a little spicier. Like I said, this is the basic recipe, okay? And you can take it so many different ways. So, give this a try. Let me know what you think. And I'll be back with you in a little bit. Thanks. Okay, now we have had the meat marinating for at least 2 hours in the refrigerator. And if you can, leave it overnight. It'll absorb more of the flavor. Now, another trick is technically what you're supposed to do is drain the meat and then save the marinade and use the leftover marinade and brush it. Well, I'm going to save you a step here, okay, because that's more work, okay? So instead, what I've done is I have put the meat into a pan, and I've kind of sorted it so that it's sitting down into the marinade that I was soaking in, okay? And I've done this trick before. It helps intensify the flavors of the seasonings in the meat, okay? And as you can see, I have fairly small pieces so that it's easier for the flavor to get all the way through. Now I'm going to put this into a 350-degree oven for 1 hour. At that point, I will check the doneness of the meat, and if it is done, I will pull it out and allow it to cool. Okay, and no, you don't need to cover this. One problem with putting foil over this is sometimes the acids from the spices and the soy sauce and everything like that eats at the tin foil and can tend to leave a tinny taste sometimes. So we don't want that, so I did not do that. Okay, now once again, getting ready, put this into the oven, 1 hour. And we will be back with you after a short break. Thank you.